from Puerto Rico, and valley from the arms of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. As the lights from Panama, yeah, from North American Indians, Syrians, the Dominican, Ahia is gathering Israel.
Yes, Ahia is gathering Israel. This is Elder Rawchaa of the Gathering of Christ Church here on a Thursday. I know you all are waiting on the other side, but make sure you slide into this broadcast. The stream key didn't work in that other thing, so I jumped right in, so there will be no issues with this broadcast. Let me make sure you all can see and hear us clearly for this timely broadcast. I mean, we're living in some serious troubled times, and it's time for the children of Israel, according to the Most High, to prepare. And that's what we're here with the Gathering of Christ Church, with the elders here, and we're going to discuss what's going on in the earth and give out some serious info according to the Most High, according to history and bibliography, as well as prophecy, so that brothers and sisters can prepare in this troubled time. Now, if you would like to get in on this conversation, you can call us 515-605-9327. We have brothers and sisters here waiting in queue through our Blog Talk Radio. So if you want to get in on that discussion, the decline of America, you can come right in. You can come right in. 515-605-9327. 515-605-9327. Jumping right in. Also, if Elder Gaja join us, Gaja, if you're out there, if you would like to come in the midst of the broadcast, just make sure you text us and we'll bring you in, okay? But it's limited time for this broadcast, so I'm going to jump right in, brothers and sisters. First off, we weren't able to broadcast last night.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, death struck within the body. Our beloved pillar, our brother and his wife, Lawya, and sister Shakaka, they lost a son, and it was very hard. Right before I began the broadcast, I just went home. I couldn't broadcast. And our prayers go out to the family. We're going to do all we can as a church. We are, to make sure we support our bishop, our brother, our sister, and their family during this hard time, during their bereavement period, their mourning period. And we pray that the Most High will accept the brother into the bosom of Abraham. We pray that the Most High will accept the brother, but I couldn't broadcast last night. And it's really tough right now. But I was like, one way or the other, what do we do? Do we not do anything at all? Or do we use this time to warn our people concerning the troubled times we're living in? And I said, you know what? What better time than now to talk about what's going on in discussing the decline of America? Okay? What better time? But I'll tell you, it was rough. I almost didn't come on tonight, dealing with what's going on over there in Texas. Bishop Lawya lost a son, and I mean, man, I don't, I'm thinking within myself, I mean, listen, I would give my life for any of my sons, and a father should never have to bury his son, and they, So our condolences go out there, and we're going to support them all the way through this, and We just have to ramp up the work so that we can meet our brothers and sisters whom the Most High is laying down. We have to work right now to make sure we meet them on the other side. But again, strengthen and in prayer and in our condolences, as well as all of our support. Lawya family, we're going to be there for you. Do me a favor, make sure that's plugged in over there. It's at 13%. That thing is going to go out any second now. Yeah. 1 second here. Yeah, the elder of Houston. Yeah, that's good. I mean, the bishop over Houston, yeah. Our condolences. And make sure you all put out a prayer for the family, for the church. We're going through a rough time right now. So make sure you put your prayers out there. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. Your timing, young man, is impeccable. Because I don't want to be disturbed. I want to jump right into this. He was a brother. He was a brother that he was coming around, and he found the Most High. He was 40 years of age. Lawya and Sister Shekinah, they're elders, but the brother was 40 years old, and things are still under investigation. But we'll keep you all posted. But more so, lift them up in prayer during this time. Okay. Someone says it's a buzzing noise going on. There's feedback and a buzzing noise. I don't know what that is. What was it always there, or did it just begin? Okay, because someone said the sound. Did that just begin when he plugged in the power?
Some people say sounds fine. Oh, someone, okay.
Okay. Okay, it's just a buzzing. Okay, let us fix that. 1 moment. I guess something happened when you plugged that in.
Okay.
All right. 1 second here. Could be a current. And okay, is that better? It's gone? It stopped. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, okay, the buzz is gone. Okay, okay, great. All right. Now it's back. Whatever we just did. Well, we can't disconnect it because it's the power for the computer. All right, it's the power for the computer. This is weird. All right, let's see. Okay, take that plug out. Let's plug it in another outlet. I'm sorry about this, folks. If it's not one thing, it's another, ain't it? Yeah, just take it out altogether. Yeah. Is there another? I don't think that first plug worked, right? Let's give it a let's try. 1 second, folks. Bear with me. We have a lot of time today. It's pretty hot up in here, too. Yeah, that first one doesn't work. 1 second. Oh, right here. 1 second, folks. All right, put it in here. In there. Okay, are we still experiencing issues here as far as the buzzing? I don't want y'all dealing with any issues anymore. Okay, they say it's clear. All right. Okay, good. It's clear. All right. Good. Well, I'm going to have AC cut that out, jumping right in. All praises be to the Most High. Is it hot in here?
Let me turn it.
Yeah. All praises be to the Most High. I'm Elder Rawchaa, the Gathering of Christ Church. I hope you all just stick on in there as we begin to delve into the end times. And what we're talking about here today is the decline of America. Brothers and sisters, we're living in some serious times. We're living in some serious, and I don't think I have to tell you the times we're living in, but I thought we would go into some history, some Bible prophecy, and some understanding for each individual on how to walk in these end times. Because the reality is, folks, and I'm going to put it this way, and I'm going to be straight with it, folks, some people have been weaponized within our society. Mm-hmm. The environment we're living in, according to the Bible, would lead to those people that you would walk or frequent with every day. You would frequent or say hi to, or whatever the case. And this is not to stir up any panic or spirit of paranoia here. It's to have you, brothers and sisters, cognizant of the times we're in based on prophecy, where people are actually weaponized, which is a serious sign when it comes to a decline of an empire. Now, some people might ask, well, Elder, what do you mean people are being weaponized? What is your example of that? I'll answer your question starting with a question. Here's a question. Can anyone out there, I see you here texting, we have brothers and sisters that are waiting on the broadcast. Can anyone out there explain to us or tell me today, what is normal? Let's start there. Someone give me an example in today's climate. Define what is normal in the earth today. Can you? I'm waiting. What's normal? It's hard to identify, right? You have to even think about it. That's how crazy life is right now. Mm-hmm. That no one can give you a clear, defined understanding of what normal is anymore. Or if you try to defend the traditional values of normal, you have become a threat to society. Your life hangs in the balance if you stand to defend any level of morality according to even tradition. So let's talk about this real quick. The decline of America, people are weaponized. And when I say this, folks, it's deeper than just, this is spiritual. What I'm about to go into is highly spiritual because people don't even know they're being weaponized. against society. They have no idea. It's the systematic environment that we're being brought up in that's organically creating toxicity. I'm going to tell you. But did this happen before? When I say toxicity, folks, I need you to think about the system we think is normal. Starting with our living environments, where we came up at.
Mm-hmm.
How we excuse normal, make excuses for it.
Absolutely.
How we overlook things that are damning to our living environment. Folks, this happened before, but it's even worse now. It's even worse now. And when I say people are being weaponized, folks, what I'm speaking in particular about is demon possession. So many people out there, I'm gonna tell you right now, are shunning the Bible, saying the Bible is a fairy tale, leave that Bible alone. But the reason why others are telling everyone out there is against the Bible, because the Bible is the only resolve. It's the only way to resolve what's actually happening to us. It pinpoints an environment such as the one we're being brought up in today. And I would like to use the Bible, even if people don't even believe in it. I would like to at least use it as a barometer or a ruler to measure morality. So that we'll understand when we're going too far, when the scales are being tipped so too far or all the way over into immorality or insanity. But I digress. The decline of America. This is what we're going to do today. And I need you to stick with me, and I need y'all to jump in. 515-605-9327. We're going to go, AC sent me an article titled The Decline of America, and it was deep in itself because, Elder Lawya, you have a book. Give them the title of the book we're going to talk about also.
This is called An Intellectual and Cultural History of the Western World by Harry Elmer Barnes.
An intellectual, read the title again.
An Intellectual and Cultural History of the Western World.
An intellectual and cultural history of the Western world, right? Because you have historians, you have those who have studied political history. To be able to give all who lives in our modern day society an insight to prepare before total decline. Mm-hmm. Like there's certain measurements, there's certain indicators that will let individuals know that time will soon dissipate, that society will eventually implode on itself. Going back to what I was saying, we have to think about some of what we accept as normal within our society. No example of, I would say, outright respect for what God calls or the Most High created in family. That's non-existent. Family have been recreated, rebranded, restructured to a degree where it has no weight anymore. There's no shame when a grown adult, male or female, choose or shuns marriage or choose not to even consider it. These are clear indicators of a society soon to fall. And I'm glad he poured out that book. We're going to go into the Josephus, and we're going to go into the Bible, some history. Folks, the Most High tell us, he gives us insight on what to do in such a time. Because the majority of people who don't believe anymore, who have lost their way, have become hosts for spirits. And guess what? We've contributed to this behavior by allowing immorality to take over our dwellings, our communities. By overlooking the abnormal. Demons, folks, has all of us within our communities in what you would call a compromised position. Mm-hmm. Demons. They're just using people. And it's going to come a time, folks, where some serious decisions will have to be made, because the powers that be will allow this thing to implode. They are banking on internal insurrection because it was created through social engineering. They created a toxic environment that they knew would eventually explode or implode on itself within our communities. They knew it. And eventually they're going to have to step in to do something about it. But not before enough of us kill each other off. What do you think? What did you think was going to happen? What do you think was going to happen? To have an environment in which we allow our own children to get strung out within our communities, and I'm talking about the environment where the parents care and we care, but we know who the drug dealers are. We know who the dope dealers are. We know who the shooters are. But we allow that environment. We just ignore it as if it's a normal piece, a normal part of our community, as if it's not going to affect us long term. You can't let a demon loose amongst you and think that, it will, and believe that it won't say, well, okay, I've controlled and took over every place. The only host I haven't possessed yet is you. Mm-hmm. I've taken the whole block. Mm-hmm. I got the block. I got, I have the community now. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of time before you make enough error and allow me entry into you. See, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, folks. What we sit back and joke about and think it's okay and ignore because it's not happening within your four walls. Folks, guess what, folks? Demons don't use doors. Okay? It doesn't work like that. Demons don't use doors. There's no lock or key or door you can set up that's gonna withstand demon possession. So I'm gonna talk about this right now. The stuff that we allow within our communities has now overtaken us. And the Bible gives us clear directives of what to do in such a time. I'm going to tell you. Some of it, what we're going to bring out is just harsh. But the reality for spiritual self-preservation is upon us. Okay? So, first off, if you are a person who's listening to this and don't believe the Bible, don't believe Bible prophecy, don't believe and think that all things are relative and society is normal, here's an opportunity for you to click off of this particular video and go watch SpongeBob or something. Okay? Go watch sports right now. Do whatever you can to distract yourself from the inevitable. This broadcast isn't for you. What we're going to do is show you that that life is replete. Everything that has been will be, and there's nothing new under the sun. Empires fell before, and brothers and sisters, this empire we're living in called America is about to fall. And guess what? We've all contributed to its fall. All of us. And that's why the Bible, that's why Christ, when he was teaching with the disciples, he was teaching, repent. None of us are not absolved from this. We've all been a part of the degradation of this world, of this land. We've been taught degradation.
That's right.
We're participated in it. And now the communities, the people are reaping what was sown. 515-605-9327. Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
Let's get Ecclesiastes first.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse number 9. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done.
Come on.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
There is no new thing under the sun. Read that one more time, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. The book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 in the Bible. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
And there is no new thing under the sun. Elder Lawya,
Yes, sir.
before I go into the Bible concerning the prophecies Christ gave us for this time and what to do, I need you to go into that book. An Intellectual and Cultural History of the Western World by Harry Elmer Barnes. And let's get some insight on the environment in ancient Rome
Yes, sir.
before Rome fell. Before the Roman Empire fell, what was going on? What was going on with the upper class, middle class? What was happening with the poor? Let's read it.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to read some points and you can elaborate as
Okay.
you wish. This is on page number 257. The title of this chapter, it says here, The Decline of Classical Thought and Culture. The material basis of the decline, meaning the decline of the Roman Empire.
The decline of the Roman Empire.
All right, I'm going to do a lot of jumping around. It says, depending largely on Gaul and the Orient for its sustenance, meaning Rome had to depend on other areas within its empire for its sustenance to sustain itself. Rome developed the attitude and policies of the parasite and spendthrift. The senseless waste, meaning the senseless waste of resources, food, whatever, what have you, which characterized the upper class, pauperized the proletariat or the working class as well.
Let's first get the first part of Rome, the first thing you've mentioned.
Yes, sir. I'm going to start here. It says economic conditions in the Roman Empire became progressively worse after the Antonines or the end of the 2nd century. Depending largely on Gaul and the Orient for its sustenance, Rome developed the attitude and the policies of the parasite and spendthrift.
Now look at that. Rome began to operate more so as a parasite, which means it got its value from other resources on the outside of it,
Exactly.
like America does, in which the country wouldn't produce or didn't become as industrious as it was on the uptick. That's what's happening with America. So now I can parallel that, folks, by going over just a few political things that have happened right up under our noses. And I need you to get that part because I'm not going to be long.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We were celebrating, we as a people, I'm speaking of black people under the Democrat Party within our communities. We celebrated Bill Clinton playing the saxophone, claiming that he was the first black president. Everyone loved Bill Clinton. And it was Bill Clinton who eventually signed the NAFTA agreement that would have all the jobs that belong to us that would sustain our economic power within the country, and outsourced all the jobs overseas to third world countries under the NAFTA agreement. So now if there's no industry and the poor countries and the other nations are making the cars and they're making, and all the slave labor or the low labor are going to third world countries, what to do with us? What will happen to us? This was their plan, folks. Their plan was to do what? To fiscally starve us out to a degree in which we would where there'll be no alternatives outside of criminalities to sustain. I gotta put food on the table. My baby gotta eat. The rent gotta be paid. So they knew by taking all the jobs out of our communities that eventually the low class would turn to crime as a viable option to sustain their lives or our lives. The crack game, the drug game, it was all planned. Right? So think about this, folks. Now, people like to blame the government. You can if you want. But a plan cannot unfold or assume its end without participation, without a willing party. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. It says the senseless waste which characterized the upper class pauperized and the proletariat as well. The provinces were sucked dry by administrative grafters, and the sources of imperial revenue were slowly but surely depleted before the time of Diocletian, who became emperor in 284 and tried in vain to salvage the empire.
So it didn't happen all at once, folks. This happened in increments. It's like the boiling frog syndrome. A frog will stay in the pot as long as it'll stay in the pot while the water is nice and cool. And when you begin to turn up the pot on the boiling frog, you know what? It's not going to jump out of the pot. It's going to be like, oh, the water's kind of cozy right now. This is not too bad. But it's boiling. And it doesn't know that it's boiling until it's too late, until it's floating dead from the boiling pot. So it's through increments. So to level off our society, they started doing things like giving us telemarketing jobs while taking industry jobs away. Jobs where our grandmother, our grandfather would have retirement plans. No. They say, no, you'll be caught, you're not going to deal with anything tangible. We're not going to put you in any industry in which would build a society. You can answer phones now. So the whole society went from building cars, building steel mills, and building tractors, and building infrastructure and roads, to answering the phone, selling products. And you didn't see that as anything because why? That's an easy kickback job. You're answering phones, you're telemarketing, you're not working too hard, but you're not making anything. And it's nothing for the country to outsource phone calls. So when they took the phone calls away, and now people from India and other areas and third world countries are answering the phone, and the only thing they have left for you is what? The drug corner, crack cocaine, pills. Why? To fill jails. So eventually it would create a dog-eat-dog environment, society amongst the poor. It would affect us more so because the rich have insulated themselves knowing time, understanding prophecy. So they have separated themselves, knowing that eventually a civil war will impose itself, its will, within the poor communities. Go ahead, Elder Lawyer.
It says poverty increased and the cost of living rose.
Poverty increased in Rome before it fell, and the cost of living did what?
Rose.
Rose, read.
In spite of efforts at regulation by the government. The Roman coinage system was debased and depleted. Payment in kind became common.
Now you notice that now those who lived in the inner cities where all the jobs used to be have to now relocate into more affordable areas, as if they're funneling people into a specific area for a specific purpose. Remember Atlanta? How Atlanta was the place, it was the Black Hollywood. Everybody come to Atlanta. We doing our own thing now. That was the plan. To begin to funnel people into certain areas for the last shoe to drop. When it comes to what? You got it, the roundup. We're going to talk about it. Go on, Elder Lawyer.
The urban middle class, the backbone of Roman society, was crushed by the unjust burden of taxation thrown on it and gradually declined into a semi-servile level where it merged with the oppressed peasantry.
So eventually the people are all going, the poor people are going to find themselves together. The underprivileged, what they call it, will be taxed out of certain areas to be funneled together for a specific purpose, just like Rome. You notice even if you have a nice place in a good area that's about to go through gentrification or whatever the case is, you notice that the taxes are so high, even if you own the house, you can't afford to stay. Eventually, they'll break you and you'll have to sell and go someplace in which your money can stretch longer. It happened in Rome, folks. This is what we're living in. We're living in it right now. People looking at regentrification, and what you're not realizing or asking is, okay, if all the other nations are moving in, where have we gone? Where are we going? Well, some is relocating, and a large number due to sicknesses and all this other, the campaigns they have on the media every other second when it comes to a pharmaceutical drug, this, that, and the other. The society is getting sick, or they're making you sick, or altogether, we're burying people at an inordinate rate right now. Either they're moving out or being buried. It happened during the decline of Rome. I've never seen it like this, folks. Have you? Come on.
Anarchy, confusion, and
anarchy. And what?
Confusion.
Confusion.
And disorder grew rampant.
And disorder grew Rampant.
And were further stimulated by the barbarian invasions.
So now the barbarians, which today would be the thugs, will begin to take precedent over a community. Those will begin to rule with brute force, like they once did in Rome, knowing, understanding the environment. The people are weak. They're easy prey. Let us not help our people. Let us not come with a plan in this time to help solve our issues and give our people some spiritual understanding or fortitude to the environment they're living in and prepare. No, let's use this opportunity to destroy our people further. The brute beasts, the barbarians, the thugs gain power in a declining society. They become another level, almost what you would call a zealot police force, in which the community fear equally as they fear the police within your own environment. Thug life begin to become sensationalized in our communities. The thugs begin to take over. Sound familiar? Read.
And also, this can be likened to foreign militaries, foreign troops, and things of that nature showing up in America.
Exactly. Foreign invasions coming in to pillage a weak, unprotected community. It happened in Rome. Come on.
There has thus been a general tendency to discover in the fall of Rome not a cataclysm, meaning it didn't happen all at once, precipitated by the barbarian invasions, but a slow process prepared by centuries of internal political, social, and economic decay.
And what?
It says a slow process prepared by centuries of internal
what?
Internal, political, social, and economic decay.
And economic decay. The social decay. The attack on family or the redefining of family. Celebrating total immoral behavior. Celebrating the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm going to tell you this, brothers and sisters. You should have known something was seriously wrong. Years ago, I was overseas when this happened. But at the ESPY Awards, they surprised everyone with this one. At the ESPY Awards, where the example of masculinity is championed, all the basketball players, football players, all the to do good athletes from our communities were all sitting in one place and had to stand up and clap and celebrate a man getting Woman of the Year. You think they didn't do that on purpose? Think about that. At the ESPY Awards, who's the majority of the athletes within the audience? What are they trying to get us to agree with? That was the perfect opportunity for them. And you could see the looks on the brother's face that was there. It was totally uncomfortable. It was sprung on them, but they were they were in a compromised position. If they would have got up and stood up and walked away, it could have meant the end of their career. They had no idea this was going to happen, the majority of them that were there. In the middle, The whole world was watching, folks. LeBron James is sitting there. Steph Curry. Everyone's sitting there. The boxers are sitting there. All of our people looking at a man get Woman of the Year. A clear, folks, you can highlight that point within our American history as a serious point of decline socially amongst our people. I need you all to check that out. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. I want to mention here, it says that this took place over centuries, meaning hundreds of years it took for the final, or the process of decline, took hundreds of years. So a lot of people think that the decline of America started with the voting in of Donald Trump, or the voting in of Obama, or the voting in of Bush. No, that wasn't the beginning of the decline. That's the tail end. Those were the tail ends of the decline. But America has been on a decline for a very long time.
Exactly. What we're seeing now is the explanation point behind the whole thing. They're not hiding it anymore. It's been on the decline, like you were mentioning, through increments. They've been incrementally testing us within society to see how much we would accept, based on them knowing that at the core, we are the children of Israel. We're the children of law. You understand? So they began to push certain things on us to see how much we will accept. And we began to, okay, it's good. It's okay? Okay, it's good. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, we good. So the whole thing is, we began to accept these tests, or go along with these tests they did on society. They were testing us the whole way to see how much we would accept of their immoral behavior. Now, mind you, folks, and I'm going to go into it in a minute, this was to open the door for demonic attacks on our society. Go on.
Yes, sir. Municipal liberty and self-government died out. The upper class was set off from the masses by a sharp distinction of wealth and privilege. Yet it was forbidden to bear arms, and it lost its... Hold
up. In Rome, they did what?
It says the upper class was set off from the masses by sharp distinctions of wealth and privilege.
So the rich was able to separate themselves from the implosion. And while the rich began to do that, what was going on amongst the poor population? Listen.
It says, yet it was forbidden to bear arms, and it lost any real interest in public affairs.
So before Rome fell as an empire, they did what? They disarmed the population. You notice that's what they're teaching, or what they're promoting, or what they're talking about almost every day on the news? Weapon reform, disarmament, background checks. And it's going to lead to all-out confiscation of weapons like it happened in ancient Rome. Oh, y'all thought that this just... What do you think all these shooting reports and all this is about? So that the Senate and Congress can do what the Republic did in Rome. Use these stories, whether true or not, as a point of legislation change to take weapons or take defense from an already weakened population. It happened in Rome. Go on, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Poverty steadily increased, wealth became more insolent and aggressive. The impoverished and the disinherited carried looting in brigandage to the very gates of Rome. Parents sold their children into slavery.
Parents sold their children into slavery. Now, a lot of you are looking at this and saying, that's cruel. Folks, how many people right now, a young quote unquote underprivileged girl is pregnant, and there's a family willing to buy the children, or she give the child up for abortion, knowing that CPS and all these other so-called institutions are nothing more than human traffickers. A lot of these institutions. They're sitting there. Do you want to keep the child? Do you want to keep the child? And they'll sell your child. The same as in Rome, because people need to eat. I already got 2 children. I can't afford this. Well, I can. And you know what? The adoption centers will do what? They'll pay the mother a few thousand to take the child. Because that's understanding the environment that was created. That you'll have a large pool of women who are willing to give up their child just to survive, just to make ends meet. It happened in Rome, folks. Go on, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Check this out. You hear stories all the time of celebrities saying that parents will come, both mothers and fathers, will take their underage daughters and leave them in front of a celebrity's house, knowing that he's going to come and financially compensate for being able to use their young daughters and things of that nature.
And see, and when you create a destitute environment such as the one we're living in now, it's nothing for others who are financially off, but are living immoral to come in and say, well, listen, it doesn't have to be the traditional example of family to raise a child. 2 healthy, vibrant, educated people can give that child a better life than someone underprivileged living in the ghetto. See what happens here? Where now our view of tradition have become askewed. Automatically, you're viewing the scenario and you're looking at it saying, yeah, I want to give my baby a better place to live under a wicked roof. This, I'm going to tell you, folks, is exactly what the Bible said would happen before the collapse. We'll go there in a moment. But people are making those decisions, folks. It's poor people, regular traditional church-going people are not in a position to adopt like educated gay people. Okay, I'm just going to be straight with you. Gay people understood that the pendulum was swinging from traditional family to them becoming the new minority, and they went to school. They became educated. They got the degrees. They got all the high jobs so that now they can stand in as the saviors for family. This is where we are right now. Hand your children over. Give it to us.
Yep. Not to mention also, they don't have the financial burden because they can't produce children. They don't initially have that financial burden. So they have an excess of finances to accommodate bringing in children and bringing in other people.
They had the luxury.
Exactly.
Of saving, of not having too many children or any children at all. They had the luxury to acquire and to sustain wealth that a traditional family just don't have. That's what happened. Let me tell you, folks, the powers that be, who was always operating like that, was waiting for this moment. To a degree in which God's people, traditional family, would look to them as the savior for their children. It happened in Rome where the poor began to sell their children. And folks, when they say sell their children, They wouldn't sell their children for some, well, just give them a better home. No. We all know how Rome operated. You could go to the market. There was no such thing as pedophilia in Rome. Okay, there was no law against pedophilia in Rome. You can go to the market and buy a little boy or a little girl in ancient Rome. You can go to the market. Yeah, let me get some oranges, bananas, whatever, and then you some children over there in a cage that was sold to some guy because the family couldn't take care of the child. Folks, this is reality. We need a reality check. Our people need to be shaken into reality so you can understand the world we're living in and the implosion that's about to go down. It's going down, folks. Mm-hmm. And it's what we've allowed. It's what we've allowed. I don't want to hear no one talking about some white man and this, that, and the other with all the crap we allow amongst us. And the Bible's going to tell you about that too. It came a time where, yeah, the nations did what they're going to do. Of course, they're going to, benefit off of every opportunity. That's what Gentiles do. But it was a time in which they entrenched around us. We're going to read about this in Rome. And we didn't come together with a plan together to get out of the situation. We were together at Masada, and we didn't say, you know what, the Romans are out there. The worst thing that can happen is we began to have strife one amongst another with the enemy on the other side of the wall. Mm-hmm. The last thing we need as a nation, as a community, is strife amongst each other. We must have a plan for those Romans that are waiting on the outside of Masada. No. We didn't think to construct a plan to save our men, women, and children. We began to fight each other. We began to pillage and kill each other, folks. With the Romans right there on the outside, the threat right there on the outside of us. And we're looking at each other, and you got a God saying, I want your gold chain. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How much money you got in your house? With the real threat, the imminent threat on the outside of us. Think about that. So we love to project. It's the white man that got us in this situation. Okay, a Gentile is going to do what a Gentile is going to do. They're heathens. What you expect them to do? But what about us? Do you expect a snake not to bite you? Do you expect that? Oh, man, that snake slithering around. He's the one got us in this condition with that venom and poison. He always biting us. It's a snake. Okay? What you expect it to do? But because the serpent got me here and with no place to move, mm-hmm. I'm not going to commit and sustain a traditional family according to God. I'm not going to keep the Lord's commandments. I'm not going to honor my mother and father. I'm going to steal. I'm going to kill. I'm going to whoremonger. I'm going to destroy the very people that the serpent is biting as a result of the serpent keeping me down. Mm-hmm. This is why I have to sell drugs, because the white man bought the drugs in.
Mm-hmm. How many times you hear that one? Somebody got to sell it.
Somebody got to sell it. No one is willing to deal with the cold, hard reality of this, folks. That if they leave us to our own devices, according to history, if they leave us to our own devices, we kill each other. we harm each other. We don't sit and calculate how to permanently get out of this situation. It's not like someone is stopping us from all getting together in the neighborhood and just having a meeting and saying, well, okay, we're disproportionately marginalized in these areas or whatever the case is. There's no infusion of finances and our money is always being circulated on the outside of us. Let's make a foolproof plan. Let's make a security team here where we can secure each other like civilized people do all over the earth. Let's structure, because everyone in their house have a stove and have a refrigerator and a sink, which means every house has a restaurant. Let's support each other with different cuisines within our communities. And let us not support anyone else. Let us not support the drug dealers. Let's give everyone that we know that's dealing with these drug habits help. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want help, we'll starve them out by not supplying anything. Mm-hmm. You would have thought that we would all came together and say, you know what? Here's a plan that the white man can't stop. Us choosing to do right. The white man can't stop us choosing to do right. He can't stop that. Mm-hmm. Right? So the other nations look back and they see they see us always complaining about the issues with the answers right in front of us. Well, if you know that's wrong, stop. I'm not making you sell drugs. I'm not making you kill your own people. I'm not making you do that. If you can plan on what color your crack vial is going to be, mm-hmm. and what corner you're going to distribute it on, mm-hmm. and what teams you have together strategically to make sure that your product is protected, mm-hmm. you mean to tell me you're going to protect your drug pack more than your own family, more than your own community? You can strategically plan for all of that, but don't take none of that constructive planning and calculating for your own people.
Mm-hmm. That's a deep point. When you think about some of these operations, they come up with coded languages, very intricate in the way that they deal with these operations. But you would think that same mindset and that same process would actually go into, as you're saying, protecting the community.
No one can tell me these guys, I don't care how what you would call uneducated these guys are. They're strategic ninjas mm-hmm. in our communities, folks. Mm-hmm. They can set a cat up. They can know what cat is working to take their spot. And mm-hmm. well before you even thought about it, they have somebody watching that cat. So you got all these soldiers in place. And I hear how people talk about, yeah, I got soldiers. But you don't have soldiers in place to protect your people in your community, mm-hmm. where your mother walked down the street, where your daughters are walking down the street, mm-hmm. where your children have to play. Now, the Gentiles have soldiers. Okay? They have soldiers. We have aggressors. Mm-hmm. We have internal threats that's formulated within our communities, folks. And I wanted to go into this to show you something, because eventually we're going to have to do what the Lord say do concerning this. And you know what? Here's the sad part about this. It'll only get worse. I just came up with about 2 or 3 things where we can constructively sit and talk and make things right amongst each other. that if we implement, all of us will be on the uptick. But it will never happen. It doesn't matter what you try to do. It's always going to be one. It's always going to be someone to say, well, listen, I'm not going to allow this to happen. Okay? We need to stay slaves. We need to stay impoverished. We need to shoot and kill each other. Over my dead body, will I allow freedom for you? Let's go, because there's a few things I want to touch on.
Yes, sir. Parents sold their children into slavery.
Parents sold their children into slavery.
Public buildings fell into decay. Service on the great post roads became disorganized. Frontier posts were abandoned at a time when every frontier area was threatened. There was a wholesale desertions from the army. Freemen refused to enlist, and the army had to be recruited from the slaves and barbarians.
Look at that, because those who understood that these wars, that there will be no end to the wars, those who had enough sense to understand that, walked away from the military. And that left who? The recruitment amongst our people. Put the poor on the front line infantry to die for the same nation that have always enslaved him. It happened in Rome, folks, and it's happening right now. Now, before you go there, I want to read a part of this article, if we may, Elder Lawya. Keep that computer there, because I don't want that buzzing to come back here, right? Real quick. Right here. Here's an article from Literary Hub. Thank you, AC, for sending this to me. Life at the End of an American Empire, Richard Lockman, on the slow decline of a superpower. Read that for me, Elder Lawya, if you may.
It says here, a specter is haunting the United States.
Go on.
The specter of decline. Discussion of decline leaped in 2016 from academic treatises to the forefront of public debate as the winning presidential candidate made his slogan, "Make America Great Again."
Trump.
Which implied America was no longer great, as it had once been. Trump built his platform on the notion that drastic action was needed to recover from a decline brought on by America's own government. The 2008 crisis and the government response made obvious the extent of economic and political inequality in the United States, and the absolute decline in wealth and well-being for a growing fraction of Americans. Evidence of a decline is manifest to those of us living in America in the first decades of the 21st.
Go ahead.
Of the 21st century. Spending on infrastructure has stagnated.
Read that again.
It says spending on infrastructure has stagnated as bridges collapse, water and sewer pipes and dams burst, and road traffic become ever more snarled, and passenger trains on a shrinking network struggle to reach early 20th century speeds. As we just mentioned, with the decline of Rome, the decay of public buildings and different aspects of public things like roads and things of that nature declining.
Man, I went into North Philly the other day, right off of Lehigh Avenue. You know that old, big, abandoned building?
Yep.
It's still there. Lord knows what's going down up in that building. I knew what was going down in it 20 years ago. You talk about New Jack City. I'm talking about something like almost 20, 30 stories high. An abandoned 20-story building. And I remember they was using that as like a New Jack City building in the 90s, in the late 80s and 90s. No telling what they're doing in there now. They're not looking to build that. How many look at how many of us need housing and all that. And this building, 20 floors, been there on off of Broad and Lehigh since I was, 7 years old? Mm-hmm. And it's still there. There's no infrastructure being built. They're preparing for something else, folks. They're not building nothing. In certain parts of the communities, they're not building nothing. Where I grew up at in certain communities, outside of the gentrification areas. But if you go on the other side where they're not building anything, I remember like 4 years old jumping over this little crack in the ground, right there, off of Susquehanna Avenue. As a little kid, I used to go to this crack and jump over this crack at 4 years old. And I'm telling you, I drove there the other day and I just stayed there and looked at that same crack in the ground. I'm sitting there laughing, reminiscing and going back on when I was a kid, and my challenge was to see if I can jump over this crack about this big in the ground. I'm looking at this thing like it's a crater. As a kid, it's still there. They haven't even filled that hole yet. But go ahead, Elder Lawyer, finish reading it.
It says, from the arrival at the airport to the high-speed train or subway trip into town, a visit to most countries in Europe and East Asia can seem to an American journey like a journey to Tomorrowland, never to be realized in the United States outside of Disney World.
Come on.
Student achievement at the primary, secondary, and university levels has fallen from the top ranks. U.S. students who attend ever more decrepit schools are performing less well than their peers in countries with much lower levels of income or educational spending. The United States, which pioneered mass higher education with the GI Bill of 1944 and held the lead in the percentage of its population with university degrees for the following 5 decades, has now fallen to 14th amongst developed nations.
14th. Babylon the Great is fallen. Read.
The United States.
And that's why every other second, when you're looking at TV or online, you have a drug commercial. They have a drug commercial. Why? They need to get people on drugs as a form of euthanization, to start putting people down, knowing that there's no infrastructure for the poor anymore. They get you on the drugs, and the drugs eventually lead to other issues in which the insurance companies get paid hacking you up before they put you in the ground. That's the plan for us. There's no alternative place to go as far as they're concerned for us. Either you're going to be in prison working for the industrial prison complex or die. Those are the only viable options. Finish reading.
The United States does spend lavishly in 2 sectors.
They spend lavishly in 2 sectors. Now, I'm sure, Elder Lawyer, they spend in investing in people as far as industry goes, so that they can bring jobs back and make America great again, as Trump suggested. I'm sure they're invested in people because people are the greatest commodity, right? You would think they would be investing in better people. But where have America placed their money, Elder Lawyer?
Well, let's see. It says the United States does spend lavishly in 2 sectors: healthcare.
Healthcare to put people down.
And the military.
And military to kill more people. Go on.
But its relative standing in both realms has been falling for decades. The United States is now 34th amongst nations in life expectancy. Beckfield and Morris report. People living in the United States today can expect to live shorter and sicker lives.
People living in the United States today can expect to live shorter and sicker lives. Now, I came from the insurance sector, and I knew this a long time ago. Okay? When someone comes to get an insurance policy, they have what you would call a mortality chart. And the adjusters adjust the insurance or the premium based on how long they think you're going to live. Knowing that America's Social Security coffers are really bankrupt. They didn't tell the workers in the United States that there's not enough money to pay everyone who retire. So they came up with a plan through the healthcare system to kill people off and have them die of cancer and all these others before retirement. Okay? That's why everyone and their mother is being diagnosed with something that leads to cancer or something terminal, because they don't have enough money. The country would go broke. They've already taken all the money out of Social Security, folks. It's not there. So the answer is, we have a bright idea. If they're dead, they can't collect the healthcare system. And that's why under Barack Obama, they made a database for the healthcare system where it doesn't matter what doctor you go to, you'll get the same diagnosis, because people were getting a second opinion and realizing the doctors were lying to them and the death plan wasn't working. So they said, no, we need a database so that people can't get a second opinion. If they go to another doctor, then you know what? They'll pull up the database and the doctor will confirm what the other doctor diagnosed. A national database. Not to make sure we're all healthy and we have better doctors and all that, to make sure they get the death care correct concerning euthanization. Putting you down. See, it's time that we all get a dose of reality here in preparation for what's to come, because empires fell before. But you know what? We as a people lived through it. Our God had grace on us to see empires rise and fall, because at the end of it, we stand. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, we stand. If we plan, folks, the empires were built to fall. I'm stating the obvious. It's not all doom and gloom here. Like I said before, a Gentile is going to do what a Gentile is going to do. I'm not going to be complaining about the heathens no more. They're heathens. What are we going to do? See? Come on.
It says here, people living in the United States today can expect to live shorter and sicker lives compared to people living in any other rich democracy. This health gap between the U.S. and its peer countries is growing over time, as Canadian, British, Australian, French, German, and Swedish death rates among people aged 45 to 54 continue falling, and the U.S. fails to keep pace with such changes. The U.S. level of health inequality is far higher than we observe in most European countries, and the prevalence of poor health is on par with the former Soviet bloc states of Central and Eastern Europe. This is the case despite the fact that the medical spending in the U.S. was 17.1% of GDP in 2013, almost 50% above the highest country, France, at 11.6%. Per capita.
Oh, let's go straight down.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to go to the past 500 years in its repeated failure to achieve military objectives over decades. Mm-hmm. Read this.
It says, instead, Americans pay much more for doctors.
Hold up. Instead of us paying for infrastructure and a better quality of life like our grandparents had, being able to see 70, 80, 90, almost 100 years. My grandfather was 100 years old, strong when he passed. Age got him. His health didn't get him. Age got him. Now today, folks, it says instead Americans pay much more for doctors, drugs, medical devices, hospital stays than what?
Than anywhere else on earth, because Congress has repeatedly rejected cost controls and forbids that federal government from negotiating prices. America also devotes more than twice as large a share of its medical spending to administrative costs as any other OECD nation.
Now, I need y'all to check that. Out of all the nations, America spend more in health care than any other nation. Why? Because that's what they're using for euthanization, to put people down. If they get you on the drugs have crazy medicine in it. Now you're confused, disoriented, and now you're going to the hospital, you're going to the doctor confused with no support, because the majority of the people in your neighborhood are confused and on drugs too, on high blood pressure, diabetes. Well, folks, in this drugs is crazy, confusing medicine that keeps you going back to the doctor with a new issue. Because what? The issue is the side effects that was in the last prescription given to you. That's what's going on, folks. And as a result of it, more funerals. Now, I'll tell you what, the funeral homes aren't complaining. Not at all. They're not complaining at all. Business is fine if you own a funeral home. But this is the plan, to put the people down, and the best they can do is use your organs before putting you in a box. So the question is here, America have no plan for becoming great again like Trump is claiming. Their plan is what to do for the useless eaters where there's no more employment for, the poor. Now, what happens is, as resources dry up, businesses wane within the communities, no substance coming within the communities inwardly amongst our people, eventually, like Masada, a trench is made around us where we must now, our life source is to take the life of others. We must, like vampires, suck off of our own to survive. That was the plan, because we dare go into the suburbs with the mess we doing amongst ourselves. So we have no recourse but to become bloodsuckers and to feed off the dead. And it happened in Masada. When the Romans entrenched around Jerusalem before our people fell, before we ran, our people didn't take heed to Christ's prophecy when he says, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the wilderness. We were stubborn, didn't listen. God would never do this. We're going to be all right. We don't have to go anywhere. And what happened? You know what happened? The Romans built a trench around Masada. 7 years, no food going in, no water going in. The first thing the thugs began to do was to get the woman or the women who held their nose up to them for years and didn't give them a chance and didn't go out dating with them. The first thing the thugs did was went into the neighborhoods and began to rape women, the girls who wasn't looking for them before. The first thing they started to do, thinking that, okay, there's no Romans, no one can do anything to us now. They begin to rape the women, folks. Number one. It happened in Katrina the same way. When Katrina happened, in that Superdome, you would have thought our people would have came together and to construct a plan to survive through a disaster. No, they were in the Superdome grabbing little girls, raping little girls in the Superdome. Was I surprised? No, because history is replete. We did the same thing in Jerusalem. The gangs got all together and went door to door within our communities in Masada and began to rob the elderly people of their jewels and resources. Started stockpiling food, oppressing the people by taking the food from the women and children. Thugs did this. Our people. This wasn't white people, folks. This was us. You think it's not going to happen again? A matter of fact, you think it's not happening right now? I know some people, you're probably going to get mad at me for not banging on the white man right now. And ignore the obvious. We being regentrified. They coming in and taking everything. Oh, they coming in and taking the neighborhoods we once owned? How did that happen again? Huh? How did that happen again? Did they come with the assault of gunpoint to take the businesses that we once owned? Huh? Or did something else happen? Did we lose our way as a people? Did we lose our way to the degree in which we didn't care anymore for the legacy we would leave? And our heirs and the inheritance that we cared so much about ourselves, we didn't care about the inheritance that should have been left for our children. We became selfish. Mm-hmm. But no one want to talk about that. We became selfish. We became everything that's wrong with the children of Israel that led to our condition. I got something that I'm going to tell you, folks. The greatest weapon, the greatest spirit, the greatest enemy is the enemy we don't see. And I'm not talking about the white man. I'm not talking about the white man, folks. Let me get that in Baruch real quick. Give me some examples of what happened in Masada, because we got about 28 minutes, and I'm going to open up some calls here.
Yes, sir. This is the Wars of the Jews, Book 6, Chapter 3, starting at paragraph 3. It says, "Now of those that perished by famine in the city, the number was prodigious, and the miseries they underwent were unspeakable."
The miseries we went not taking heed to Christ's prophecies couldn't be measured. Now, the famine is going to happen in the inner cities. Why? Because we are, as a people, dependent on markets. And in the midst of a disaster, folks, there will be no trucks or 18-wheelers coming in and out of our communities to bring resources, food, and water. It doesn't work like that. Only the military can bring things in during the time of an emergency. That's number one. Number two, the majority of the major cities get their water from a reservoir system. A water system that's within the city. Mm-hmm. So not only are they pumping in poisons right now, such as fluoride and other agents, at any time they can put whatever they want in the reservoir and make us sick, have us have flu-type symptoms, claim those flu-type symptoms is Ebola, and eventually quarantine you. Or altogether, it's a reservoir. If they can put fluoride in your water without any pushback, they can also put arsenic in the water. Mm-hmm. Or better yet, because maybe they have a filtration system in their house. Better yet, why don't we just shut off the water like we did to Masada, where there's no water going in? Now, you would think at this point that people would come together in the neighborhood and say, well, okay, this crack thing ain't working no more. Mm-hmm. If anything, we need to start planning on how to get to some water. And instead of taking our weapons and pointing at each other and trying to rob our own people, let's make a plan to get to some water. with the little resources we have left. But you think that's what we'll do? No, I think we'll do what we did in Masada. Because you can't expect a life-changing scenario to happen overnight and think that if it happened tomorrow, that the minds of the people will change and adjust based on circumstance. It doesn't work that way. If you don't have the mind to understand the condition you're in and to plan what to do in an emergency scenario, whatever mindset you're in now is what you're going to take into the chaos, into the disaster. If you are emotionally unstable, if you've always been a killer, if you've always been paranoid, if you've never planned anything, if you never really cared about your people, those are the same behaviors you're going to take in a disaster, folks. And you're going to become more so a liability than anything. Okay? It's what you do when you still have opportunity like now to prepare yourself for what's to come. It's the mindset we must take on now. Okay? And we must begin to take on a mindset of how to view and interact with people that we know within our communities are enemies. Okay? You have to walk circumspect. You have to walk according to you have to know what's going on. And you have to prepare yourself now. Knowing those same demons that'll be operating and destroying your children, they're practicing now on the community. They're practicing on your children now. Okay? Listen to me clearly. Come on.
It says, the miseries they underwent were unspeakable. For if so much as the shadow of any kind of food did anywhere appear, a war was commenced presently. And the dearest friends fell a fighting one another about it.
We didn't plan to go against the Romans who made a trench against us. We began to attack our own friends for resources in Masada. Tell me this ain't us. Tell me we're not the children of God. Let me tell you, when Katrina went down, you should have seen how the other nations in the suburbs were operating. Like they were drills for this or something. All the men came out, put up barricades. They made sure the children was fine. They made sure every house had water, food. You had security on either end. And it was our people in the water, wading in the water. Oh, get me off the roof. I need help. Not to say that it happened, that it happened absolutely to us, because other nations were caught up in it. But we were disproportionately affected by it compared to other people. You know what we did? The levees broke. Let me go to Walmart and get a 50-inch. You had people looting. What are you going to do with a TV with no electricity? Folks, it'll be the end of the world. You'll be somebody somewhere breaking in to get a 60-inch. The other nations don't operate like this, folks. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
It says, the shadow of any kind of food if the shadow of any kind of food did anywhere appear, a war was commenced presently.
And if food was shown, if someone had food, it was internal war. They didn't think of, let's split rations according to the people we have to see how long we'll survive. No, let's war for this loaf of bread. Come on.
And it said, check this out. It says that the shadow of food, meaning something that resembled food.
Yeah, the thought of someone having food. The shadow. Oh, man, what's this?
A little stick or something on the ground that resembles something food. People would break out and war over it. That's how the starvation got.
It happened, folks, and it's going to happen again. It's happening right up under us. And like I've mentioned many times before, the military have been spread thin on purpose so that there's no internal help force militarily. That's why they sent our young boys all over the world to police and to be on these stations and bases and all that. Right. So there's no protection home when it goes down. Come on.
The dearest friends fell a fighting one with another about it, snatching from each other the most miserable supports of life.
Let me tell you, folks, I don't even want to read. It's when you get a chance, what chapter you in? Go to the book of Josephus and read the whole thing. I went through it many days before. But folks, it's so heinous, I don't even want to go through it again, folks. Women were roasting their own babies for food. And then one woman had half of her baby roasted, and the thugs came in and took the baby that was roasted and killed her for the half a baby that was left. Give me that chapter and verse. Give him the chapter and verse.
This is book 6, chapter 3, chapter 3, paragraph 3 through 4.
And let me tell you, folks, I'll be straight up with you here. This might seem outlandish to you or crazy to you, but it's no crazier than having a community knowing that someone you care about is on the corner like sorcerers selling drugs to your own children. What are you saying by allowing such behavior? Not thinking that it's going to come around full circle, folks. Allowing criminality to fester as some type of, and not only that, people get community accolades and badges for destroying their own people. Now, eventually, the Most High is going to send a judgment for them. We all know how it ends. But all in all, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, something is going on with us as a people who would excuse such behavior. And that's why I started this off with a question. What is deemed normal in our society now? What is deemed normal? No one you can't even define it. Why? The society we have allowed within our communities to run amok. And because of this abnormal environment we live in, we have lost, the understanding altogether to what's normal. But now, like I said, if you don't believe in the Bible, hit the road. This ain't for you anyway, okay? Hit the road. But history is replete. And we're going to show you, according to the Most High, what's about to happen. And what spirit we must be in, understanding the time we're in. And listen, it's time to kick in. It's like, to a degree now, even amongst the church. And we're going to meet amongst the elders and all that. Listen, any level of criminality anywhere, you got to hit the road. When you come to repent and be baptized for the remission of sins and align yourself with the saints of the Most High, that's because you have renounced the cares and the wickedness of this world. If you're going to harm your people, this is not for you, because you bring it on yourself double judgment. It's one thing to harm brothers and sisters out there. It's another thing to touch one of those little ones, the anointed that Christ have chosen. And I'm saying this because I've noticed this. I've seen this on videos and all that, where witches, warlocks, and people from covens, they purposely join a church. You can find this online. They purposely join a church to taint the members, understanding that the members are pure and more impressionable than those that are in the world. They find some consolation, they revel in causing the righteous to sin. Mm-hmm. So it's not that if you follow the Bible, you're in the church. It's not like our four walls is absolved from wickedness coming amongst us. And we must understand that. We got to stop walking in this naivety, this spirit of if you come amongst us, everyone must be okay. And guess what? When you deal with this word and you preach and you teach and you have a love for your people, you try the best you can to give the benefit of the doubt. You want to give the benefit of the doubt, but then reality sets in. We're those people that was in Masada. Mm-hmm. So how do we weigh this and understanding the time to come that's coming? Right? How do we weigh this? And it's to the point where I'm telling you right now, we stand amongst elders and all that. Any level of criminality, I don't care what it is. If it's criminal, you can hit the door. That's it. We see you in the wilderness. You're coming in to taint, to harm others. Witches, warlocks, sorcerers, they love coming amongst the churches and where people are trying their best, who are even struggling. It's enough we're struggling with everyday life and temptation. But then a sinner will come in, a wicked person, an evildoer will come in to purposely harm another. So this is what the Lord said, and this is how the disciples, even Paul, talked about this. You got people who are not satisfied just destroying people in the world. They want to execute their venom, their demon-filled venom amongst those who they know are struggling, those who are trying to do right. Let's talk about it real quick. Give me Revelations 18 real quick when it says come out of it. And we're going to bring a higher understanding to when the Lord says come out of my people in Revelation 18. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to open up these lines. And there's a few other things I wanted to talk about, but we're going to try to consolidate as much as we can up into our lesson. We'll just finish this.
Yes, sir.
We'll break the times of trouble and go into this Josephus and the end time prophecy this Sabbath. But let's get it real quick.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 4.
Come on.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Now, eventually, we're going to have to physically, like our people did in Jerusalem, leave Babylon. Now, some people say that's saying spiritually leave her. To some degree, you are correct, but you have to understand what that means according to the Bible. And we're going to give you that. But eventually, after taking our heart out of this place, you must be prepared to walk away from the destruction that will soon come. And I hear some people out there, well, what about the people who can't? What about this? What about that? What do you mean, what about the people that can? Search out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. How do you know they can? How do you know the Most High is not going to make a way? And I say that all the time. There's a difference between people who actually accomplish things and those who don't. The people that look to accomplish things or to finish, they see the finish line. The people who don't succeed, they look at the barrier, and that's all they see. They don't see the finish line because first they're looking for the reason, the wall that they can't overcome. But those who see the vision don't see the wall. Mm-hmm. They're not looking for the reason something can't get done. They're looking for a way around the wall, not to look at it and be like, well, what about this situation? Or what about that situation? And Christ comes back with, what about faith? If you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. And see, in those with faith and understand and have seen the end of it, who understand and believe what the Most High has said, know there's no obstacles. But those that continue to walk in the spirit of failure, they always look at the obstacle first. This is why I can't do this. This is why I couldn't do this. Making an excuse for standing still. Wasting all that beautiful spirit that comes with being a child of Jacob. Those that, let me tell you, it's a thin line. And those that really achieve anything in the life never look at the obstacle. They see the finished product. And you have to understand by reading this Bible and understanding these prophecies, folks, it's already finished. When the Most High created all he made, he created the beginning and the ending. It's finished already. So stop looking at the obstacle to why you can't do something or you can't finish. Mm-hmm. Well, what about the people in prison? The disciples were in prison and the angels came and opened the doors. Mm-hmm. Well, what about I can't afford this and I can't afford that. You know what? You're going to stand still because you only see the obstacle. Mm-hmm. You don't understand the worth that comes through faith. And because you lack faith, you will be right there, looking at the wall. Mm-hmm. Finish reading it.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people.
That you be not partakers of her sins."
Now, eventually, we're going to be gone altogether. I don't care if people call it flea doctrine, whatever you call it. There was a world before America, and according to the Bible, there will be a world well after America. And the sooner you get that in your mind, the sooner you'll begin to prepare for what's next. Okay? We were a vibrant, strong, industrious people before there was any such place as America. And we'll still be standing someplace else, like it says in the book of Jeremiah, after the fall of it. Okay? Read.
And that you receive not of her plagues.
That ye receive not of her plagues. Now, the plagues is what's coming to it. Now, the Bible, go to Revelation 18 and 4. Let me show you what's running rampant up in this cesspool.
18 and 4.
18 and 1.
Revelation 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen.
America in decline. It's falling. I don't care what you think, folks. They done already took all the jobs and outsourced them. It's over. Anytime we tried to get some type of financial hold to self-sustain and to build ourselves within this country, at every political interval, they would open up the floodgates for immigrants to come in. First, it was Italian immigrants, Jewish immigrants, European immigrants. Anytime, don't forget, we were the only people building anything in America. Okay, we were the slaves. So once they emancipated us, once we were free, they weren't going to allow us to become the industry of America. Notice what they did is they opened up the floodgates where all the Italians, the Jews, all the nation would come in and take in the resources so that we wouldn't financially sustain ourselves and make generational wealth for our children. That was the plan. Every time we try to figure out, okay, how can we make generational wealth and get ourselves out of this condition? They open up the floodgates. That's what this immigration policies were about. All the jobs we used to do, everyone else is doing, folks. That was the plan. So the Most High is showing us over and over again, this is not your rest. This place was never for you. It was a place made for you to serve your captivity for disobedience against me. I'm freeing you. But our people can't see that. We don't want freedom. So when the Lord says, come out of my people, you look at it like, well, where I'm going to go? Where were you before you got here? Before our mommies and daddies hit the shores of America through slave ships, where were we? So, oh, we were in Africa. Well, where were we before that? Where were we before Africa? Huh? Come on.
Babylon the Great is fallen, and it's become the habitation of devils.
That means demons is running this piece. Devils is running America, folks. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. Folks, when someone decides, it tell you that you yield your spirit to the God you serve. It tells us that in the book of John. It's what spirit you obey. When someone decides to sell drugs or do something to harm their people, they become agents or doorways for demons to come in to utilize them. When someone is sinning against the Most High, they open their vessels to be hosts. So when you choose sorcery, which is drug dealing, when you choose to deal with sorcery on any level, when you choose murder, adultery, all the sins the Bible is against, the demons gain hosts. And these hosts become the internal destroyers of our community. We're going to break this down on the lowest level to why the Bible is so important. You don't understand the enemy. You're still just looking at the white man. The enemy is anyone who have yielded their vessel to that spirit that is destroying our communities. And what it'll do? It'll kill off the person that's selling it and everyone else that's participating in it. And guess what? That demon will leave and it'll wait for the next young man to come to the corner. It'll wait for the next man to take in that position thinking, okay, the corner's free now. I'm about to come up. And you know what? By that choice, you become the next host. And that applies to every sin or transgression written of in Scripture. That's how it works. Be it adultery, whoremongering, whatever the case is. It waits for souls. It recycles souls. Another one in the ground, who's next? And they'll operate until the judgment. A lot of you, I'm gonna tell you, I keep on mentioning that academy, but in that academy, we go into the origin of demonology, of where it came from, what beings they came out of, and what are their purpose. Their whole purpose is they need bodies. And the only way to get bodies is to yield men or women into some type of sin against the law. They need hosts. They need bodies. But if you serve the flesh, you open a doorway unseen. They can see it from their dimension. But to us, it's a choice. But to them, it's a door. It's a choice for us, but it's a door for them. That's how it works. And you look up and you be like, man, I was tricked. I didn't think it was going to go this way. Okay, that's how it works. End up in jail or... So the question is now, when the Bible says come out of her, let's go to a precept and let's go into some depths of what it means by come out of her. 2 Corinthians 6 and 17, let's read that real quick. So this is a choice that the righteous or those who are looking to do right, this is a choice we have to make now. Let's read it.
2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse number 17.
Hold on, man. We only got a minute, 2 minutes before Blog Talk goes off, okay? I'll stay here on YouTube, but Blog Talk will go off
90 seconds.
in 90 seconds. So if you want to chime in and give your input on this particular topic, 515-605-9327, 515-605-9327. Once you come in, if you like to make a comment or statement, hit the 1. And I'm about to go down the list of these particular numbers in a moment. All right. 504 is first. Area code 504.
seconds.
352 is next. Then 314 after that. The decline of America. Okay. When the Bible says, come out of my people, what does it mean for us? Those that believe, those who can see, who eyes are open. Read.
2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse number 17.
Read.
Wherefore, come out from among them.
Now, this what it means. First, we must come out from amongst them.
And be ye separate.
And be what?
And be ye separate.
And be separate from them. Speaking of the evildoers.
Saith the Lord.
Saith who?
Saith the Lord.
Read.
And touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you.
And touch not the unclean thing.
10 seconds.
Then the Most High will receive you. So it's talking about the conscious sin and the uncleanliness we're witnessing every day. It's not just talking about leaving America. It's the actions every day, what we touch, how we interact, who we're interacting with. When the Lord says be separate, that's what he means by be separate. Because why? By not being separate, you're showing some level of complicity with the wicked who are looking for hosts. Who are looking for hosts. It's time that we put a stop to it altogether by showing our defiance. We must show straight defiance against wickedness with our actions. And I don't care who they are, somebody close to us or whatever the case is. Listen, I have a family member who know what I'm dealing with. Okay? Who know that I deal in the Bible. And if you're doing something wrong or whatever the case is, and I know you're doing it, and he's like, yeah, man, you think I can get a few dollars? No. Did I have some dollars in my pocket? Yeah, I had dollars in my pocket. But I wasn't going to give him a dime. I don't care. I don't care how much that could be my own family member. I have to be separate because I'm not going to enable a demon. And when it comes to drug dealers, whoremongers, whatever the case, you got to say, listen, no. They have to feel your disagreement with their behavior. And it's not to say that you're going to be so harsh to the degree in which an opportunity isn't there for the person. But they must know your discomfort with wickedness. They must understand that evil and uncleanliness makes you uncomfortable. They must understand that around you. And when they're around you, they are how the publicans and sinners were amongst Christ. Cognizant of their environment. Understanding that they're gonna up their game sitting with the righteous. Or lose those opportunities. You have to understand the power you have and that the Most High have given you. And utilize it for right. And not aid and abet evildoers. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when it comes to those who are close to you, people you love. But eventually, if we don't begin to make those decisions, these are the spirits or the host that's going to bite us in the end. They're going to be close enough to do exactly what Christ said they would do. Turn you in. Make false accusations against you. I'm going to tell you right now. Enablers. Enablers. The decline of America. We are living in serious times. And with serious times come serious choices. Elder Lawya, you have anything to say?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Come
sir.
on.
2 quick points in the book of Matthew, the 12th chapter. I'm going to read something in Psalms real quick.
Yeah.
But just to paraphrase the scripture in the book of Matthew, the 12th chapter, where Christ says that an adulterous generation seeketh a sign. David says here in the book of Psalms, chapter 74, verse 9, we see not our signs, there is no more any prophet, neither is there any among us that knoweth how long. And I mention this because some of the things we're mentioning that goes on in our communities on a daily basis, we may not look at them or examine them as being signs of the times. When we think of signs of the times, we're looking for this big, magnificent, illustrious event to take place. We're waiting for Iran to finally send a missile to America or something to jump off of a great magnitude, not realizing that the things that we witness on a daily basis are signs enough to let us know that we are in a time of repentance. When you see in your community drugs rampant, crack cocaine rampant, heroin rampant within your community, dope fiends rampant in your community, and we bring these things up all the time. And what our people say is things like, well, that stuff been going on. That's been happening a long time. Well, you mean to tell me that this has been going on for a long time and you still didn't look at that and say it's time to repent? You mean to tell me that in your community or in our communities throughout the U.S., you got cities where there's 500 murders a year, 600 murders a year, 700 murders a year. Here it is, we're waiting for this big illustrious war, but a war zone is taking place in our communities daily. And we say, again, that stuff been happening. That's been going on for a long time. Well, again, you mean to tell me that you've been seeing this death and destruction in your community for so long, and you still have not said, well, maybe this is a sign from God that we need to change our lives, change our living conditions, change the way that we're operating, because if there's 700 murders in this community this year, I could possibly be one of those murders next year.
Exactly.
So these are, when Christ says an adulterous generation seek a sign, we're looking for God to rain fire from heaven. We're looking for Moses to return and turn the sea into blood, not realizing that the signs are before us. Okay? And as we see these signs, we must acknowledge them and realize that it's time to repent, or else we can be the next victim taken and the next sign to come, the next catastrophe to take or overtake our communities.
Yeah. And it's deep that we don't relate the community ills to the signs in itself, when usually the signs in scriptures was a direct result of prophecies concerning us, all through the Bible. When David says, 1,000 shall fall this side and 10,000 by my right, but no death shall come near thee. We don't even relate it to the carnage that happens within our communities all over the earth, not just America. But look at our inner cities. We don't even relate that the Most High have shown grace on us. With thousands of our people dying daily, but yet, through his grace, we're protected. We don't even relate that and look at this and saying, this is the time he was talking about. Though I walk through the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. We were raised, we were born in the valley of the shadow of death. And yet the Most High gave us grace. And not once do we look at this as a sign to say, you know what? It's time for me, as an individual who can see, who understands the law, statutes, and commandments, it's time for me to be the change. It's not about, okay, it's too much for me to fix all over the place.
Right.
But you can become the sign for those who are witnessing your transformation. And that's what it means when it says being born again. We become the sign. And now we got to start making some choices because Satan have drawn a line in his satanic sand a long time ago. And he's picking us off. It's time for us to draw a line now. Now, when Moses came down from that mount, folks, and drew that line in the sand, the Most High told him to do that. Now, just imagine those he cared about, who he helped save out of Egypt and all that. That was on the other side of that line. He had no choice in the matter. The Most High told him to draw a line and says, listen, who's ever going to be on this side, tell him to come on over. You better tell him to come over. And he's sitting there looking at the people on the other side of the line who turned to the enemy, the same people he saved and helped, ready to be swallowed up in the earth. And it's time for us to draw that line and be separate and let people we know that we care about, like, listen, if you're going to continue to walk this road, sinning, harming our people, breaking God's law, eventually I'm going to have to wash my hands of you. Eventually. And if we don't, and you see what happens when no one takes a stand? Look outside. When you live and let live, you want to see what happens when you live or let live? Look at the incarceration rate. Look who's being locked up. Look at our young children being buried. That's what happens when no one stands up and live and let live. The decline of America. The question is, we all know Babylon is falling, right? Are you going down with it?
That's right.
Is the question. Are you going down with it? It will fall. Shalom.
Shalom.
You're live.
Hello, Elder.
Shalom, sister.
Shalom.
Yes, I'd like to,
America in decline.
Yes, I'd like to touch on the question.
Yeah.
What is considered normal?
Yeah, what's considered
It's pretty
normal?
much anything and everything goes right now. It's like just like the alphabet people put it that way. No one is accountable. Everyone has their own opinion. You seem to be a hater if you put trust in the Bible, which says what's right and wrong. You're a hater. So you have to let everybody do what they want to do. No one's accountable. So it's like individuals have become their own gods themselves because they're only accountable to themselves. So that's the state we're in. Anything goes. That's what's normal.
Yeah. So anything goes is normal now.
Yes,
You know what? And,
that's normal.
it's deep that I was in a place and there was a lot of weird stuff going on. And I was in a Renton terminal because I left 10 years ago and came back, and that whole strip it's like it just up there on Arch Street. It's like the world changed within 10 years. I remember preaching down on 9th and Market and how it was and the difference of when I came back. And I noticed that there's this thing where, and I'm gonna place you on hold. Good point, sister. I'm gonna place you on hold. There's this thing there where if something is uncomfortable and you talk about it, they'll say, well, you can't say stuff like that no more. I'm like, that's interesting. Something that makes me uncomfortable. An imposition against my traditional values is it's uncomfortable for me to disagree with someone imposing on my traditional morals. But yet, I can't say anything. I was reprimanded. Oh, no, you can't say nothing like that. You know, you can't say that anymore. And I'm like, this is deep because this person really believed that. That's what I thought. I'm like, this person really believed that. But you can say anything you want about a black man. You can call me everything but, you know, everything under the sun. With no reprimand. You can say what you want about a black man. You can joke in front of everybody about me. But something that imposes on my traditional morals, my traditional values, I can't speak up against that. But you can say, what's wrong with a world in which I can't say anything against something that's imposing against me, but you can say anything you want about me. And yet call it freedom. You know, you can't say that. I mean, my son told me, you know, my son, my oldest son, because he know when we go into a spot and something is different, I'm gonna look at him. He said, Dad, a lot of things to change. Dad, a lot of things to change. I'm like, but I didn't.
That's right.
I'm not gonna let this world morph me into something and put me in a box. You've been incrementally absorbed into the abnormal. And I refuse to be absorbed into it. Now, I'm respectful with my interactions, but if I'm uncomfortable around something, give me the right and freedom to be uncomfortable, okay? You're not getting that. You're not taking that from me. Yeah, my son, my son educated, old, like, Dad, Dad, you can't say that stuff no more. I'm like, yeah. Hey, you got the wrong man. I believe in that Bible. The minute you stop talking, you're a lot in the house with the sodomites knocking down the door. Because it's not enough to allow them to do what they want to do. Because no one can stop grown folk from doing what they want to do in private. But if you don't show your discomfort, eventually they're going to be like, well, okay. Your silence is agreement. I want your daughters. I want your son. A matter of fact, I want you. Come on, let's go. 219, right? Okay.
Oh, no. Get up off me.
219.
Hey, shalom, brothers.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, talk to me. We're running out of time. Talk to me.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if y'all talked about this earlier, but I want y'all to check out on World Star Hip Hop. It says New Yorkers explain why they are attacking Jewish people. I believe they hired some brothers and some sisters to have them lie, talking about some, this is the reason why we attacking them and this. So I just want to update y'all on that.
Yeah.
So have y'all talked about that earlier in the program?
Well, not really. I mean, you blame us for everything else, so okay. I guess now what they're saying is if they don't do something about these blacks in the neighborhood soon enough that's exhibiting anti-Semitism, that eventually a Hitler will rise from amongst the ghetto and overtake a European country. And ferment Nazism when I don't know if we can get together to agree on a hot dog stand. So I don't know how they're going to think that there's some type of threat from black people against an organized people with a state and a military. I don't know what type of threat they think going to come from black people. But I digress. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe there's
Yeah, I was just asking.
maybe T-Bone is about to grow himself a Hitler mustache, become a Nazi, and take over Germany or something. Who knows? All right, maybe T-Bone and
All right,
Ray is
man.
conspiring. To go over Germany and start a new black right. Who knows? But I digress. All right.
All right, Elder.
All right.
All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
I mean, it's utterly ridiculous for some grown people with a military, a state of their own, political influence in which they control. AIPAC controls all of the politics within the United States. Okay? They go on and on and on TV on how intelligent, how they have higher IQs than everyone else. So according to what they're talking about, they're smarter than us, right? As they claim. So now they're worried about some boogeyman, Black Hitler, rising from the ashes of North Philly, from the ashes of 17th and Norris Street, to become the next Hitler.
Right.
Come on, man. What's the next phone call?
And what they don't discuss, not to even, jump into this, we have had other discussions on these things, but they don't discuss from these situations is the what they impose when they come into the Black community. Anytime you have a community where there's Jewish and Black people living together, there's always tension because they bring that particular tension to the community, knocking on people's doors and trying to, buy them or push them out of the community so that they can now take control of the community, so on and so forth. So they don't discuss the actual tension that leads to certain sentiments, not necessarily, people trying to attack them or trying to, create some type of cabal or program against them or anything of that nature. But tensions do rise whenever that element is there, based on some of the things that they do trying to impose themselves on the Black community. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, this is what I got to say, though, right? The best deterrent for any crime is what? America, you have the right to bear arms. Like, this is a non-story about this synagogue stuff to me. Because the people that try to do it died, right?
Exactly.
Is there any greater judgment or deterrent than that? What guy's sitting back looking at this story and say, I think I could pull that off?
Right, exactly. Yeah, either end up dying or end up in prison.
Just say it happened exactly like the TV say is happening. All our people have to understand is the outcome, to know, okay. That's something, I'm going to leave that up to them. They should have known better. We in the, Black people in the hood talk about, I don't know what's wrong with those Negroes. I don't know why they went past 18th Street. So,
exactly.
I'm going to tell you right now, folks, it doesn't fit. In a nutshell, it doesn't fit because Black people don't have the resources to threaten Jewish people. They don't have the resources to do so. And even if they did have the resources and thought they would go out of their mind and threaten Jewish people, they'll end up like those other characters. So it's a non-story as far as I'm concerned. Okay? You commit a crime, they have jails for that. Or you find yourself on the end of a bullet. Like any criminal should. If you trying to execute death, murder, vengeance on a person, it doesn't matter whether or not they Jewish, Chinese, whether they Tibetan, no matter what their religious persuasion or ethnicity, if you're trying to harm somebody, they have the right to execute judgment against you. So it's a non-story.
That's right.
Okay? One thing about these Jewish synagogues is everyone that's living in those communities have the right to bear arms. So it doesn't matter what color, why are you emphasizing the Black guy that's coming to harm you? What's this emphasis on the color? If somebody come with a bag over their head with gloves on, you don't know what race they are, and try to impose their will on your synagogue, on your church, handle your business. Give me a break. These are non-stories as far as I'm concerned. Black people don't have the will, fortitude, or resources to threaten Jewish people. Period. It's a non-story. 469 area code. Talk to me. Talk to me, 469. Lord have mercy. I guess she over there cracking up here. 352 area code. Let's go down to the decline of America, 352. Did we have 352 already on?
We could check. I believe so, because I think it's counting
Okay,
back up.
352. Shalom.
Hey, elders, how y'all doing this evening?
We're blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya, and we trying to get through. We got prayers going out for our family
Yes,
in
sir.
Houston. We just trying to get through. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praise to the Most High. But yes, sir. Elders, it's a blessing to be on. Thank you for taking my call. I just got something quick to ask. It might sound a little, it might sound a little strange, but anyway, do y'all have a place inside of the church that helps people develop, their gifts as far as like if they were born with certain gifts of prophecy and certain gifts of vision? Do y'all have like, some infrastructure within the church that helps them develop and sharpen those gifts?
Give me an example of that. Or what are you talking about?
Of course. Yes, sir. Okay, I just use myself as an example there. Like I have, the Most High deals with me on vision and prophecy, and I hate to sound, I don't want to sound spooky or nothing like that, but he shows me things that come to pass.
Okay, so how do you know when it's the Most High and when it isn't?
Well, it's things that like.
No, I'm asking you a question. Now listen to my question again, because I know what you're about to do. Answer this question. When do you know? When do you know when it's the Most High and when it isn't?
Well, because it's like ever since I've been a child, it's a relationship thing to where I know when it's the Most High. It's kind of it's more like a spiritual thing where I know that I know His voice.
About the visions.
But it's more like a I can't really explain it, Elder. It's like ever since I've been a child, he's been I've been walking in that.
Well, brother, I'm not trying to be. Listen, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not holding you over the coals. I'm not raking you over the coals here, and I'm not saying that it isn't the Most High. What I'm asking you is, because you said that we have a place in the church that can help one hone certain gifts. What you have to realize, brother, what you have, everyone have. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
To have some level of intuition and spiritual gifts, or to know where the Most High gift through the Holy Spirit may guide you and say, don't go there. And if you would have went there, something would have happened. Or gave you some insight of prosperity or a gift that you was going to get, and it happened. What you have to realize, brother, that what you have everyone has. Now, and the reason why I'm going here is because if you're not careful with that and don't know when it's from the Most High, you know where that falls into?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Divination, witchcraft, and
yeah, exactly.
Fortune.
Because the whole thing is,
the
whole thing is, and I'm going to show you how to deal with it now. I wouldn't ask you if I wasn't going to show you. What happens is, if one start believing they have something, and they tell other people about it, now other people are coming to you and asking you to break down what they're dealing with. Have that ever happened?
No, because I mean, I see things according to scripture. You know what I mean? It's all it's not random things.
Nah, brother,
It's,
I'm not,
it's
brother.
according to
You see
scripture.
how I ask you a direct question and you start talking about what you're doing?
Okay. I'm sorry. Ask me, what's the question again? My bad.
Okay.
I thought I was answering your question. My bad.
No, I ask you, when it comes to your visions and being able to break things down, have other people recognize you had that gift and ask you to help them out?
I mean, kind of like certain people have certain dreams.
So
and I ask people why, you know,
the
what I think
answer,
of
brother, so the
certain
answer is
interpretations.
yes,
So,
correct?
correct. Yeah. It
Okay,
has happened.
okay.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Christ says, let your yea be yea or your nay be nay, anything else gender strife. See, this is where you have to be careful. Because the Most High didn't tell you to do that, did he?
No.
Thank you.
No, sir.
He didn't tell you to do that. So now you're diving into, because I'm going to tell you, even Satan himself will give you a true vision.
That's true.
So it's up to you to know if it's from the Most High or from the dark side, because Satan himself is wiser than Daniel. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So now let me answer your question according to the word. Read it, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. This is Sirach chapter 34, verse number 1. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false. In dreams lift up fools.
And dreams lift up fools. Dreams also falls in the line of visions. Now, this is not me calling you a fool, because it's not. It's having those who actually go into their visions, like you or others, to begin to weigh what it is and how it can be utilized, because this is how witches and warlocks are created. They're able to tap into that
That's
intuition
true.
and vision and start to believe they're dealing with something spiritual, but really they're a host for a demon. So now you must be able to weigh, because what you have, brother, everybody else has. Understand that. That means there's nothing that's there's no one or have experienced anything that's not common to man. You're probably able to tap into it more because you think about it more so. But now that you're thinking about it, you have to weigh your thoughts with the Most High. Read, Elder Lawya.
Verse 2. Whoso regardeth dreams is like him that catcheth at a shadow.
Come on.
And followeth after the wind.
And followeth after the wind. Read.
The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face.
The likeness of a face to a face. It's like you're looking in a mirror, right? Now, the vision in the mirror is you, right? When you look in the mirror, isn't that you?
Right.
Yeah. But is that real?
Is my reflection real?
Yeah. It's a reflection of you. It isn't real. It's a reflection. You're the real one. So that's what your visions are.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right.
okay.
All right. Follow the Bible, because I'm helping you here. Read.
Verse 4. Of an unclean thing what can be cleansed, and from that thing which is false, what truth can come?
Exactly, because you have to realize, brother, that you're getting your visions from a vessel also that's subjected to sin. Sometimes thoughts come in your mind of things that are uncomely and not lawful according to the Most High's will. So that's mingled in with your visions too. Right? Read.
Verse 5.
Right.
Divinations and soothsayings.
Now it goes into divinations to be able to divine and understand what's going to happen and tell other people, start resolving other people's visions. Read.
Divinations and soothsayings and dreams are vain.
They're what?
Are vain.
They're what?
Are vain.
They're what?
Are vain.
Vanity is nothing. Because what happens is people start tapping into that gift that they think is unique, which everyone has, and start to become vain and think that they're dealing with superpowers. Right? So now it says that that vision is vain. Read.
And the heart fancieth as a woman's heart in travail.
There it is now. It says, the heart fancieth as a woman in travail. Read.
Verse 6. If they be not sent from the Most High.
If they be not what?
Sent from the Most High.
If they be not sent from the Most High, and I'm going to give you an example of what that is, brother. Read.
In thy visitation.
In thy visitation.
Set not thy heart upon them.
Don't even think about it. Read.
Verse 7. For dreams have deceived many.
Because hold up now. They have deceived many. Now, before I go into the deception of it, because Satan will give you a true vision if he know you depend on them more so than reading the Bible and understanding whether or not they're sent from him or not, God or not. Satan would rather you follow your dreams than to measure your dreams with the Bible. Now, if they're sent from the Most High, right? This is how you know it's sent from the Most High. The Most High showed you a vision of a destruction that's coming or something that's going on. And you can go into the Bible and read almost verbatim what the Most High showed you. Where now it's not about you, it's about the word of the Most High. Where the Most High wants you to show the prophecy from the prophets to help someone to find the Most High or to know that his judgment is coming. So now it's not you that's bringing it. The Most High just gave you an insight to his judgment, which is written. So you're not giving your prophecy.
Right, yes, sir.
Now you know it's sent by the Most High. Now, if the Most High show you some girl or some situation where, Lord, I seen you in a dream and all that, and Lord, I knew this moment would happen, you caught up right now. That's what's happening there. The Most High have nothing to do with that. Okay? So you have to weigh your dreams with the precepts and know that the Most High will never send a false vision or a vision that will puff one up as a so-called prophet. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Finish reading.
Thank you for the edification. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, yes, brother. So let me tell you, I'll be having some deep dreams. But you know what happens, brother? Guess what happens?
What's that?
I wake up. Okay? So, so the best thing you can do now is you can come and learn the precepts of the Most High to know and not get caught up in your dreams, because what you have, everyone else has every time they go to sleep. You just have a propensity to remember your dreams more so. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
My brother, bless you.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you too, brother. Come to church, be baptized, and let's go into the Most High's visions. 917 area code.
Good evening, Elders. How are you all?
Shalom. How are you?
Shalom.
Two quick questions. First of all, what I'm dealing with, I have a relative, who's my brother-in-law, who is a sodomite, and I have been toying with the idea for some time. But before I came into the truth, I became quite aware of the spiritual world. And I was trying to figure out how to approach him back then. And I've even talked it over with other family members, like my daughters. And I also like to mention that he's my children's only uncle. I'm an only child. And my late husband had just one brother and one sister, so it's kind of a small family.
Hey, sister, your phone. Hey, sister, you right now, your phone is like you're underwater. I want to really be able to get into. Yeah. I really want to be able to get into what you're saying, but
let me see if I can turn up the volume just a moment.
Yeah. Help me out here.
Okay, is this any better?
Excellent. Excellent. Now talk to me. You were saying something about a sodomite.
Yes, my brother-in-law, my children's only uncle, has been, he came out the closet a little over 40 years ago, just when my oldest daughter was born.
Sister, your phone went back into that. It went back into that zone again. Or do you have me on a speaker? What's going on here?
Oh, no, it's not on the speaker. I don't know. I think it's just trying to see.
Yeah. Something is going on.
Again.
Something is going on with your phone in which it was right at first and then it faded back into underwater zone.
Okay, let me see if I can hold it in a different my position. Okay, is this any better?
No, when you said
Hello?
better position, you was right there. Keep it just like that. Go ahead.
Okay, just like this. Okay, all right. Well, what I was saying is my daughter's only uncle is a sodomite. Some years ago, even before I became into the truth, I was aware of the spiritual world, and I had kind of wanted to try to figure out how to approach him with that information. And I had talked over with my daughters, a couple of them, about, how to approach him. They said, "Oh, you can't. Just leave him alone like that." But, I mean, he's a family member. I don't want to, and like you said, you shouldn't have anything to do with sodomites. I can't just refuse not to have anything to do with him. I mean, we're family, So I was wondering, is there a tactful way to approach him?
Okay, great. So you say your nephew is a sodomite that came out 4 years ago.
No, not my nephew, my brother-in-law.
Okay, your brother.
My late husband's brother.
Okay, your late husband's brother is dealing with
Right.
the other. He's dealing with the male on male zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And
he
hold up. And he decided to come out to who?
Yeah, about 40 years ago. Yeah. Well, he came out about 40 years ago, right about the time my oldest daughter was born. When he came
you're talking about 40 years ago.
The time to see the new baby.
Okay, so
that's when he told his mother and his nephews.
So in a nutshell, let's get straight to it here. You're saying he came out 40 years ago.
Right.
And you want to talk about what to do now.
I want to approach him to let him know that even my husband was still living. He said that his brother told him that when he was growing up, he knew something was wrong, but he didn't know what it was. I want to tell him what's wrong, but everybody else, the other family members say, leave it alone.
Well, yeah. But, it's to a point, sister, unless he's affecting your life in some way, there's not much you can do at this point, because where he needed help was a long time ago.
40 years ago.
When your brother recognized something was wrong when he was growing up, 9 times out of 10, some grown man was imposing their will on him.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing you can do, unless he's affecting your life right now, sister, the best you can do is just be cordial and respectful around him, as long as what he's doing is not directly affecting your daughter or your family. But what you have to be careful about is what I've experienced in some of these scenarios and understanding them and growing up is usually when these little boys deal with that issue of being effeminate and all that, usually there's an adult somewhere who introduced something to that young child. And see, and that's and that's really the untold, the unspoken conversation that have always plagued our community, and acting like this doesn't exist. So as long as he's not affecting anyone adversely or affecting your daughter, leave him alone. I mean, so I feel for the brother. I wish someone would have been there for him 40 years ago. But still, yeah. If he's not harming anyone, just pray for him and just be there for him as a family member. Okay.
Okay. All right. My second question.
But make sure you watch out. Make sure you don't leave, the youth around.
I don't feel that any of the young children in the family or any peril around him. It's not like that. It's just just the fact that he is.
Yeah, but that's fine. But it's prevalent right now. But make sure if you got grandchildren and all
Right.
that, make sure you're looking out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll put you
Okay.
on hold.
All right.
For sure.
One other question. I had, this other, the brother you were just talking to previous about spiritual things. This one particular, I'll tell you this. I had an experience where an item appeared. Okay, what it was like an old-fashioned plastic item, which was a Missouri tax bill, what they call it. It was used. I haven't.
Hey,
seen-
sister,
they
this
used it back in
phone,
the early
sister,
50s when I was a kid.
hey, sister, I know you want to bring in your next point, but this phone is really, I
Catching
can't.
up
Yeah,
again.
yeah. I'm
Okay.
glad we was able to get the first point out. So next time, just call us from a different phone, and we really get that second question happening. Okay.
Okay, I will.
All right. Bless you.
Okay.
All right, and if you can, sister, just
Thank
send.
you much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bless you, sister. If you can, just send an email to goccSouth@yahoo.com. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with your second question.
Okay.
We're down to under 5 minutes. So
5 minutes. We'll take 2 more calls.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Hello?
Bless you.
Hello? Hello, Elder? Can you hear me?
Shalom.
I can hear
You're
you.
live. You're live. Shalom.
Shalom.
Hi. Hi, Shalom. Hi.
How you doing?
This topic. Hi, elders. This topic is a very sobering topic tonight. I was just thinking we are indeed living in like an upside down society because of how we operate in the communities and dysfunction. We've been doing it for so long that it's become the new normal. And I myself have a tendency to want to help people out and about in the street, and I have to be cognizant of the time we're living in, the wicked time. And an example is just, generally the lack of civility and dishonesty, stealing from one another, and it's just commonplace. And also I find that the amount of people out there that have scowls on their faces when you just mention Christ, I mean, even from the most financially comfortable or stable to even the homeless people out there, like it just shows just the time we're in where the love of many waxes cold. You have people scoffing or just people without eyes to see. And even if, because I'm a kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of person.
Oh, I didn't
and
recognize
that.
that.
Seems to be...
But go ahead.
It's like... and it seems to be like strange or uncommon, like it's unlooked upon as strange or uncommon, but at the same time sometimes it's like it's a light to those who have eyes to see. And like the sister said earlier, this is like a do as thou wilt kind of society or a situation where it's like a Babylonian nation that's individuals, like an individual's nation, and doing what we want creates a kind of destruction that's unfolding right before our eyes. And I think the main thing is to try to train our children to love righteousness and hate evil.
Okay, I'm gonna place you on. She always brings some light to the end of this. We only got a minute or so before it's over, but next week's show, we're going into Gabari and us, men going God's way. We have what you would call the MGTOW community, in which men are now taking a stance against feminism and saying we're going to stand and make sure we have everything together and get ourselves together before we decide to actually be in a relationship. And if we do go into a relationship, it's going to be with a woman of value. And that's MGTOW. So we're going to have one of the MGTOW guys come on and give us their perspective. But at the end of it, we want to come up with our own hashtag, men going God's way, and how we can transition that into a more spiritual movement according to the word. So we're going to go into that next week. And I'm sure that's going to be an interesting show because feminism is demonism. And we're going to discuss that also, another ill that's happening in our community. So you don't want to miss next Wednesday broadcast, Men Going God's Way. And we're going to actually be introducing or have a guest on from MGTOW. So you don't want to miss that. But go ahead, Elder Lawya.
Right. Someone says those MGTOW guys aren't as good as you think. Well, listen, we'll have a conversation. We'll have a discussion next week.
We'll have a discussion.
And as we mentioned, it's about going God's way. It's about going the Most High's way. So
because maybe sometimes you have to listen to people because maybe there's a value in what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's from the Most High. They're just misguided through it.
Exactly.
You understand? Maybe there's something to some of their points. All right. We're not going to dismiss it. But we're gonna bring some levity to it and say, well, okay, that's men's going their own way, but this is men's
Thank you for using Blog Talk
men's going
Radio.
God's way.
Goodbye.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So we're gonna deal with that next week. Of course, that ends our broadcast when it comes to Blog Talk. But I wanted to thank a few people real quick. First of all, someone sent me a few things, and I wanted from the GOCC network, and I wanted to read these real quick. Number one, they sent it in a letter. Elder Rawchaa, I would be amiss if I didn't take a moment to say how much I thank Ahia for you. I love you and all the elders very much for depositing the word, true gospel in my soul. Thawada Marbell. I just recently joined the GOCC network and wanted you to be the first elder to try my lamb rub. I know you like good food, so enjoy. The instruments for cooking are under the cap. Sister Mabel's kitchen lamb rub.
Oh, praises.
Lamb rub. And I'm going to definitely put this on some lamb and throw it on my barbecue and tell you what I think about it. She sent it to me, so I'm going to use it. Praise the Most High. Mabel's lamb rub. She said, thank you, sister, for sending it. And it smells good, and I'm going to throw it on a lot of my barbecue.
Let me see that real quick.
Oh, yeah, it's the real deal. And you can go to GOCC Network to order it. You see how the Bible tells us about that? The kingdom cometh not by observation, it's within us. Perfect example, right? Let me tell you, I haven't purchased deodorant in like over a year, almost a year now. And it's because I went to, the Passover, and the sister had this deodorant, this like mint paste type deodorant. You put a little under your arms and you straight for 24 hours. And it comes in this little glass jar. And it came from the GOCC network.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're supporting our people and no aluminum, none of that garbage. I use it every day. Some of the best deodorant I've ever had, being made by the children of Israel, being made by God's people. Another letter. All praises to the Most High, Ahia by Hashem, Yeshaya, Rawak. Once again, it's a blessing to send you honey from our hive. Respectfully, Sister Robin and Deborah Jackson. They got their own honey from hives and sent it to me. Tell me our people ain't super bad. Robert and Deborah Jackson, this is honey from their own hives they sent to us. And I use it in my tea and all that. I'm going to give you a few of them. Use it in my tea. Honey is off the chain, straight from the beehives, folks. GOCC Network. Go to gatheringofchrist.org, GOCC Network. I went to the mail, and I had all these early Purim treats. And sisters and brothers, I knew it was in you.
That's right.
I knew you could. The nation was built off of us. And it's good to see how resourceful we are, because seeing this, I know the children of Israel is going to be fine in that wilderness.
That's right.
Right?
And 2 quick points on that.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if that's the same one. I know a similar bottle came. I'm not sure who sent it.
It's the same sister.
The honey, not to even try to pipe it up just because it came from an Israelite, but the honey is some of the best honey I've ever had in my life. And I'm kind of a honey connoisseur. So to say that stuff is amazing. And secondly, people, as you were mentioning earlier, people are mentioning, how is this going to happen? How is this going to work? What are we going to do? Right now, as you see day by day, brothers and sisters coming together and making these different things, these are examples of what we can do with the little resources that the Most High blessed us with.
Exactly.
Imagine when he pulled this thing together and have us operating.
Exactly. I mean, I knew it. The nations knew it. This is how the whole world was built, off of our resources, folks. The children of Israel is the greatest commodity on earth. An empire cannot run without us. Another letter came in the mail yesterday. To Zion, shalom, elders and family. To Zion has been affiliated with the GOCC network for almost a year. It has been a blessing to be able to provide our brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. Wanted to bless you and Elder Lawya with a small token of our appreciation, along with your wives, with a gift for all the hard labor and work that you do for the body. I pray that you'll receive this blessing, and I pray for Rawchaa to keep his hedge and protection. Please visit us soon in Mississippi. I'm coming. Once again, respectfully, to Zion, Tiffany Jones, Kamada Yapa. And she sent this January 10th, 2020. Just sent it. I just opened up the mail. Look what we have here. To Zion soaps. Cream. Body rubs. Man, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you, boy, I am so humble, and I'm so proud of the children of Israel, God's people. When Christ says, listen, the kingdom cometh not by observation. You're waiting for me to come out of the sky? Yeah, I'm coming. But the kingdom is within you. You're my body. Without you, a kingdom could not exist. Egypt was built off of us. Babylonian Assyrian Empire was built off of us. The Persian Medo, the Roman Empire, even America was built off of us. How much more when we begin to use the resources for righteousness to help God's people?
That's right.
The GOCC network, brothers and sisters, I'm going to cherish this. And guess what? Now I don't have to go and buy certain soaps and all that. I'll just use this. Lamb rubs, I'm going to try it. And I'm going to be ordering this stuff. Lotions and all that, I might as well get it from my people. Because I know they're going to put care and love in it. And there's no poisons or additives that can actually harm our people. And I thank you for all of your support. I thank you, brothers and sisters. I'm humbled with it. This is well beyond anything. This work is well beyond any work or anything I imagined this work would be.
Sir.
And it's because of you. Honestly. I appreciate it. And I'm going to make me some tea with this honey in a moment. So with that, I'm going to say shalom, the decline of America, but the rise of the children of Israel.
That's right.
Make sure you join that Hebrew and Bible Academy. What we going into this Sunday, Elder Lawya?
The split between Israel and Judah.
The split between Israel and Judah, and I have some new books. And I'm going into the places we were scattered even before America. So the 12 tribes chart is just an overview we use for North, Central, and South America. But Israel has been spread throughout the four corners of the earth, including Asia. Also, you know what I'm going to go into? This weekend, I'm going to go into how the demon's child, Joseph Smith, came up with the Book of Mormon to try to misdirect the narrative that was being taught in England. You had historians along with clergy coming to Americas in the 1800s, going back to Europe, teaching that the North American Indians and the Mexicans and all that are the children of Israel. And they were teaching this over in England while the monarchy was trying to claim that the Indians were savages. So they sent the Mason, a Satanist by the name of Joseph Smith, to come up with some demonic New Testament called the Book of Mormon to deceive the people and divert the narrative of the clergy that was going back over into Europe teaching that they found the children of Israel. I'll be going into that this coming Sunday, totally decimating, washing the floor with that dirty Book of Mormon and its demon prophet, Joseph Smith. This Sunday, you don't want to miss it in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Anything else, Lawya?
That's it.
Stay prayed up, sin not. We will soon see Zion. If you want to be in that Hebrew and Bible Academy, send an email, gatheringasone@aol.com. historytimes.org. You can enroll right now if you would like. Support the work because you know everything we get goes back into it. Shalom. Stay prayed up. Sin not, brothers and sisters. The children of Israel will soon see Zion.
Shalom.
Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra-biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that he used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.